Hi everybody, my name is Holly. Thank you for joining me for today's yoga practice. Today we're going to be focusing on the hamstrings. So this is an area that is prone to injury for a lot of people. So it's good that we, in yoga, that we do our stretching and strengthening these muscles. If you're working today with an injury, especially a hamstring injury, take it easy. If something doesn't feel good in the body, then just back out of it. I don't intend to use a yoga block today, but if you like to use one in your practice, just have one to hand. But you might want to have a yoga strap, or you could improvise with a bathrobe strap or a dressing gown strap for one of our poses later on today. So we're going to start lying down on our backs. So you can bring your legs out long, or you can keep a bend in the knees if you prefer. If you are keeping a bend in the knees, maybe bring your soles of the feet to the edges of the mat and bring your knees together. Or maybe resting your hands on your belly or down by your sides, making sure your shoulders are relaxed and they're not hunched up by the ears. Maybe closing the eyes, relaxing the face. And start to become present in the moment. So quietening the mind, letting go of any thoughts, whatever's happened to you earlier on today, or whatever you've got happening later today. And start to bring your awareness to your breath, so inhaling and exhaling through the nose. As we inhale, we're filling the belly, filling the chest. As we exhale, that belly's dropping back down towards the spine. And we'll just take a few more rounds of breath in this stillness. And as we move through the practice today, try and maintain this rhythm of breath, even as the poses get more challenging. And then bringing our legs out long, if they're not already, we're going to bring the right knee in towards the chest. And then holding onto the knee with both hands, we're just going to sway it gently from side to side, just working into the hip. And then taking that leg up towards the ceiling, maybe holding onto the back of the thigh, or if you're a bit more flexible, you could hold onto the calf or ankle, but keep your shoulders down on the mat. And then we can just push into the heel, pulling those toes back towards you, feeling that stretch move down the back of the leg. And then pointing into the toes, we're moving that stretch into the ankle and the shin. And then taking the heel up, bringing the toes back towards you. And once again, pointing those toes up towards the ceiling. And then 2 more times, just working with the stretch. And then bringing that knee back down towards the chest. We'll bring that right leg out long, and we'll do it on the opposite side. So bringing our left knee in towards the chest, holding on with the hands, and just swaying gently from side to side. Loosening up the hip. And then taking this left leg up towards the ceiling, holding onto the back of the leg wherever is comfortable, pushing through the heel, drawing those toes back towards you. Noticing how far the stretch goes down the back of the leg, and then pointing those toes up towards the ceiling, taking the stretch into the shin. And then moving back and forth, pointing and flexing the foot. Noticing if one side feels a little tighter than the other, so I definitely feel it more in my left hamstring than I do my right. And then bending into that left knee, we'll bring the right knee in to meet the left, holding onto the back of the thighs. We're going to rock up and down the spine, come into sit-in. You can always roll to one side and push yourself up with both hands. And then crossing at the ankles, we come to sit-in on our shins. And then placing our hands just behind the sitting bones, we're going to start to lift the knees, and we're getting a stretch down the front of the shins and into the ankles. If this is too much for you, then just lower those knees down, only working as far as what feels good in your body today. And then lowering those knees back down, we're going to tuck the toes, sitting on the heels, taking that stretch down the soles of the feet. And we're resting our hands on our thighs. And then releasing from here into our tabletop pose. So wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips here. We're going to bring our right foot to the back of the mat, tucking the toes and pushing through the heel, just stretching down the back of the leg. And then taking that right leg as far over to the left. Maybe taking a gaze over that left shoulder to see your right toes. Stretching down the right side of the body. And then bringing that right knee back to center, so we're back in our tabletop. We'll take the left foot to the back of the mat, tucking the toes, pushing through the heel. And then taking that left foot over to the right, maybe gazing over the right shoulder to see your left toes behind you. And then coming back into our tabletop pose. From here, we're going to step our right foot in between the hands, making sure right knee is directly over the ankle. You might want to scoot that back knee back and pad the knee if you're working on a hard floor. On an inhale, we're going to lift the arms and lift the chest, coming into our low lunge. So squaring off the hips here, pulling right hip back, left hip forward. We're going to take this into a side stretch. You can bring your right hand onto your right waist, or if it's available to you, you can bring your hands down onto the floor, reaching that left arm up and over, taking a side body stretch, open into the left side body, keeping that chest rolling open so our left shoulder is rolling back. On our next inhale, we're engaging the core, taking both arms up towards the ceiling, chest is forward. Exhaling, bringing our hands down to frame that front foot as we straighten into the right leg, drawing those toes back towards you. Depending on how flexible your hamstrings are, you might not be able to fold over this straight leg very far, and that's fine. You might want to keep a slight bend in the knee too. If you want to go deeper, pull those toes back towards the shin. On our next inhale, bending into this right knee and making our way back into tabletop pose. This time stepping the left foot in between the hands, making sure left knee is directly over the ankle, padding that back knee if you need to. On an inhale, lifting the chest, lifting the arms, coming into our low lunge. Squaring off the hips. And we'll take that side stretch, so maybe bringing our left hand onto the hip, or maybe fingertips onto the floor, reaching right arm up and over, taking a side body stretch. Inhaling to come back through to center, lowering those hands down to frame that front foot. We're straightening into this left leg, drawing those toes back towards you. Taking this as far as is comfortable for you. So slight bend in that knee if you need to. On our next inhale, we're bending into this left knee and coming back into our tabletop pose. From here, we'll warm up the spine with some rounds of cat-cow. So on an inhale, we're going to drop the belly, tailbone lifts, gaze comes forward. Exhaling, chin to chest, rounds and contract. Inhaling to drop the belly, tailbone lifts. Exhaling, chin to chest. And 2 more times in your own breath. On an exhale, you might like to press through the hands so you can round through the upper back a bit more. And after your final go round, coming into a neutral spine. And then we'll walk our hands slightly in front of the shoulders, fingertips blade wide, tucking those back toes, keeping our feet hip width distance apart. On an exhale, we're centering that tailbone high, coming into our first downward facing dog. So maybe pedaling at the feet here as we work on lengthening down the backs of the legs. Nice long straight spine here. Pressing down through the fingertips, ears are in line with the biceps, gaze is towards the back of the mat, and then coming into some stillness with the legs. Don't worry if your heels are lifted. On our next inhale, we're going to bend into the knees, gaze comes towards the top of the mat as we step our feet up to our hands. Coming into a ragdoll fold here, so feet hip width distance apart, keeping a bend in the knees, catching a hold of opposite elbows with the hands, and letting that crown of the head hang down. You might want to sway gently from side to side, releasing the lower back, lengthening all the way down the back of the body, laying our chest down across our thighs. You might want to nod the head yes a few times, shake the head no, making sure you're not holding any tension in the neck here. And then lowering our fingertips down to the mat, pressing into the heels, a slight bend in the knees. We're going to roll all the way up the spine. Come into standing, shoulders hunched up towards the ears, roll them back and down. Palms of the hands facing forward, crown of the head is lifted as our tailbone lengthens down. This is our Tadasana, our mountain pose. On an inhale, we're going to circle our arms up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to catch a hold of the right wrist with the left hand. We're going to take a side body stretch, so on an exhale, bending over to the left, opening into the right side body. If you want to take this a little bit deeper, we step this right foot behind the left foot, keeping that right shoulder rolling back. Inhaling to release and come back through to center. Switching the grip, so this time holding onto left wrist with the right hand. Exhaling, taking a side body stretch to the right this time, opening down the left side body. If you want to go deeper, we're stepping this left foot behind the right foot. Inhaling to come back through to center. Exhaling, bringing our palms together and down to the heart. We're going to step the left foot back, coming into our high lunge. So a bend in that right knee is directly over the ankle. You can keep this back leg straight or keep a bend in the knee if you feel any pinchy in the lower back. Keeping the chest lifted, squaring off the hips. Same as the low lunge, pull right hip back, left hip forward. On our next inhale, we're going to lift into our warrior three. So we're going to take our weight onto this standing leg as we straighten the right leg, reaching the left leg up behind us at hip height, pushing through the heel. Reaching that crown of the head forward. Feeling strong in this standing leg, so rooting down through that right foot, drawing the kneecap up, engaging the quad. Rolling this left hip down, so we're not opening out to the sides, that left hip is pointing down towards the mat. On our next inhale, we're going to start to lift the chest. We're going to step this left foot back, coming into our pyramid pose. So heel comes down, toes are off on a 45-degree angle. Our hips are squared, so you can be aligned heel to heel, or keep your feet hip width distance apart. Hands are on the waist. As we inhale, we lift and lengthen. As we exhale, we're going to fold down halfway. So have a quick check with this right hip, make sure it's not pointing out to the side, tuck it in, squaring off the hips here. If you want to go deeper on an exhale, we're going to start to fold down over this front leg. So keep a micro bend in that knee if you're really feeling it in the hamstrings. Pressing down evenly through both feet. On our next inhale, we're going to start to bend into this right knee, placing our hands on the mat, stepping back into downward facing dog. We'll move through a flow, inhaling into plank, exhaling, bending at the elbows to lower all the way down to the mat. Inhaling into our cobra, elbows are in towards the ribs, chest is lifted. Exhaling to lower, making our way into downward facing dog. On an inhale, we'll bend the knees, gaze towards the hands, stepping up to the top of the mat, coming into our half lift, flat back, so palms onto shins, reaching that crown of the head forward away from the tailbone. Exhaling to fold. Inhale to circle our arms up towards the ceiling, palms feet overhead. Exhale, bringing those hands down through heart center. So we'll step the right foot back this time, coming into our high lunge. So keeping that left knee directly over the ankle. Your choice what you want to do with the back legs. You can have a bend in the knee, or you can keep that leg straight, squaring off the hips, making sure you're not flaring those floating ribs out, so tuck them in, engage that core. On our next inhale, we'll make our way into warrior three. So we're going to take our weight onto this front leg, straightening into the leg as we lift our right leg back behind us, out at hip height. So pushing through the heel, reaching that crown of the head forward, engaging that core to protect the lower back, rolling that right hip down. If you're working on carpet, you might find it really hard to balance. That's why I'm wobbling a lot. On our next inhale, we're going to lift the chest as we step this back foot back, coming into pyramid. So back heel plants down, toes off on a 45-degree angle, hips are facing forward, hands on the waist as we inhale and lift. Exhale, folding down halfway. Have a quick check check what this left hip is doing, so tuck it in if you need to, square it off the hips. If you want to go deeper, on the next exhale, folding down over this front leg. Feeling that lengthening into the hamstrings here. On our next inhale, we're going to start to bend into this left knee as we place our hands down on the mat, stepping back into downward facing dog. Moving through a flow, inhaling into plank, exhaling to bend at the elbows and lower, inhaling into cobra, exhaling to lower, making our way into downward facing dog. On our next inhale, we're bending into knees, gaze comes towards the top of the mat. You can step or hop up to the hands, coming into our half lift, flat back. Exhaling to fold. Inhale to circle our arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. Exhale, bring those hands down through heart center. So from here, we're going to make our way into standing splits. So on an inhale, we're going to circle our arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. Exhale, bring those hands out wide, diving down over the body. When our fingertips reach the mat, we're going to lift our left leg up behind us, pointing through the toes. Folding over this right leg, so really rooting down through this right foot, feeling that lengthening all the way down the back of the leg. It doesn't matter how high this back leg is coming. Engage that glute though if you want that leg to go higher. To challenge your balance, you might want to walk your hands a bit closer in towards this standing leg, maybe holding onto the ankle with one hand, maybe both hands. On our next exhale, we're going to bring these left toes down to meet the right toes. Inhale, coming into our half lift. Exhaling to fold. Inhale, circling our arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. As we exhale, bring those hands out wide, diving down over the body. When our fingertips meet the mat, we're going to send this right leg up towards the ceiling, coming into our standing splits on the left leg. So folding down over this standing leg, rooting down through the left foot, pointing those right toes up towards the ceiling, engaging that glute. Maybe walking those hands a bit closer in towards the foot, maybe holding on to this right ankle, this left ankle, sorry, with your one hand, maybe both hands. On our next exhale, we're lowering these right toes down to meet the left toes, inhaling into our flat back half lift. Exhaling to fold. Inhale, circling our arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. Exhale, bringing our hands down through heart center. So we're going to step this left foot back, so we turn into the long edge of the mat. Toes and knees are pointing to the long edge of the mat, taking those feet wide, hands onto our waist. Inhale as we lift and lengthen. Exhaling, coming down into our wide-legged fold. So maybe bringing our hands down onto the mat, just underneath the shoulders, maybe holding onto the ankles or taking peace fingers around the toes. Micro bend those knees if you need to. And then bringing our hands on the mat underneath the shoulders. Inhale to a flat back. We're going to move here in Skandasana. So we're going to bring our left toes, point them out to the left, and we're going to start to walk our hands over towards this left foot as we bend into this left knee, straightening into the right leg and coming up onto the right heel. So it doesn't matter how low these hips are coming, you might be up here. If you're feeling this stretch down the right leg, then you're getting the benefits of the pose. And it doesn't matter if this left heel is lifted as well. And then walking our hands over to this right leg, we're going to start to bend into the right knee as we straighten into the left leg, coming up on the heel of the left leg. So as well as working into the hamstrings, we're working into the inner thighs in this pose. One more time, walking over to the left foot, bending into the left knee, straightening into the right leg, coming up on the heel of the right foot. And final time, walking over to the right foot, bending into the right knee, straightening into the left leg. And then we'll move from here, so we'll walk ourselves around so our hands are framing this right foot as we come up onto the ball of the left foot. Taking right leg back, we're in our plank pose, moving through a vinyasa. So exhaling, bending at the elbows to lower or coming into chaturanga. Inhaling into cobra or up dog. Exhaling to lower, making our way into downward facing dog. So from here, we'll lower our knees down onto the mat, bringing our feet off to one side, bringing our sitting bones down onto the mat, legs out long in front of us, bringing those toes back towards you, slight bend in those knees if you need to. We're coming into a forward fold. So as we inhale, we're lifting up out the waist. As we exhale, taking a fold. So maybe bringing our hands around the soles of the feet, maybe taking peace fingers around the toes, or even holding onto the calves. Lengthening all the way down the back of the body here. On an inhale, we'll lift the chest. Then we're going to bring our left sole of the foot to the inside of the right leg. And then taking a bend into the right knee, bringing the heel of the foot close in towards the sitting bones. This is where the strap comes in handy. So you can bring your strap around the sole of the right foot. We're moving into heron pose. So we're going to start to straighten in to this right leg, taking the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling. So you can keep a bend in the knee here. If you're feeling it in the hamstring, then like I said earlier, you're getting the benefits of the pose. We want to keep the chest lifted, so drawing those shoulders back so we're not rounding through the upper back. Taking one more inhale. As we exhale, start to bend into this right knee as we lower these right toes down. So we're going to bring our left leg out long. We're going to bring the sole of the right foot against the left leg, bending into the left knee, bringing the heel close in towards the sitting bones, using that strap if you need to, or you can hold onto the sole of the foot with the left hand, and then taking this left leg up towards the ceiling. So enjoying that lengthening down the back of the leg. Remember to keep a bend in the knee if your hamstrings are feeling super tight today. On our next exhale, we're going to bend into this left knee, lowering the left foot down. And then crossing at the ankles, we're going to come into tabletop pose, and we'll move into lizard. So we're going to step the right foot to the outside of the right hand, scooting this back knee back. Pad that knee if you need to, making sure right knee is directly over the ankle here, and just sinking those hips down. So feeling a nice lengthening down the left hip flexor. If you want to go deeper, we can bring our forearms down onto the mat, reaching the crown of the head forward. If you're on your forearms, come back onto the palms to hands. Maybe you need to scoot this back knee in slightly, and then we'll take the right leg back so we're in our tabletop. We'll move to the other side, so stepping left foot to the outside of the left hand, scooting this back leg back, making sure left knee is over the ankle, sinking those hips down. Maybe you want to come down onto the forearms, reaching that crown of the head forward. If you're on your forearms, come onto the palms of the hands, scooting that back knee in if you need to, and then taking this right knee back. And then crossing the ankles behind you, bringing our sitting bones down so we can bring our legs out in front of us. Scooting ourselves forward so we've got enough room behind us, bringing our palms of the hands down onto the mat just behind the sitting bones so the fingers can be pointing towards you, or you can point them away. We're moving into reverse tabletop, so it's your choice where you want your finger position to be. Soles of the feet are down on the mat. On an inhale, we're going to press into the feet, press into the hands as we lift the hips up. If you feel really tight in the shoulders, you might not be able to lift your hips very high. Maybe you want to drop your head back if it's comfortable for your neck. Exhaling to lower those hips down. And then bringing our arms out in front of us at shoulder height. We've still got a bend in the knees. Slowly with control, we're going to lower all the way down to the mat. And then bring our arms out at shoulder height, or cactus if you don't have the room. Bring the knees in towards the chest. On an exhale, we're going to drop our knees down to the left. As our gaze comes over to the right, or keep that gaze up towards the ceiling, whatever feels better for you. Opening into the chest, keeping that right shoulder down. On an inhale, we're engaging that core. We're going to bring our knees back through to center. On an exhale, drop those knees down to the right. Gaze comes over to the left, or keep your gaze up towards the ceiling. Keeping that left shoulder down. Then engaging that core, we're going to bring our knees back through to center. And then wrapping our arms around our shins. You might want to sway gently from side to side. And we'll close off our practice with Shavasana. So we'll bring our legs out long, heels to the corners of the mat, toes rolling open, arms down long beside us, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Make sure those shoulders are down away from the ears. Relaxing the face. Having a scan through your body, checking how it's feeling. Do your legs feel lengthened? If you want a longer Shavasana, you can hit pause. Otherwise, start to wiggle the fingers and wiggle the toes. And then pointing through the fingertips, maybe taking our arms up overhead, taking a full body stretch. And then bringing one knee in towards the chest, and then the other. An option here to roll to one side. You can hold onto the backs of the thighs and rock yourselves up to a seated position. Coming into cross-legged, resting our hands in our lap or on our knees. Giving yourselves a little thank you for making the time to get on the mat today. And we'll close off our practice, bringing our palms together at heart centre, bowing our forehead to our fingertips. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the practice, and I'll see you next time. Bye!